Hey, I'm Loz McGlynn and this is Yeah the Gals, a podcast for the ones doing the juggle. I'll be chatting with women in the thick of it, those taking big leaps, and experts with the insights that we usually type into Google at 2 a.m. If you're winging it like me, you're in the right place and I am so glad you're here. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is like a bit of a weird kickoff because today is an episode that is with my best friend, Hey. Her name is also Lauren, so there's like two Lozzes in the shoots. But we are doing an episode where Loz is actually going to chat to me. We're going to chat together.
Be the interviewer.
The interviewer.
The roles are flipped.
The roles are flipped and it feels a bit awkward because I'm usually the one that's like asking the conversation, asking the questions. But I guess I started this podcast a couple of years ago now, like 2 years ago, and we've done a whole bunch of really cool episodes and I've like had such a privilege to sit down and chat with so many different people, not even like I want to say women, but I've actually had really awesome conversations with not women.
Some fellas.
Macca, aka hubby, has been roped in a couple of times unwillingly. And it's probably like worth talking about like why did I start the why. So I have asked Lozzie in to have a chat with me and talk through that. It feels like slightly self-indulgent because I feel like I don't know. And I don't know if other people feel like this. So you're like, oh, I'm not even that interesting. But equally, I chose to start this podcast, so it's worth just like unpacking a little bit around who bloody hell I am. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to hand it over to Loz.
But also, people want to know why you started.
Let's go.
So, kick off. Why did you start the podcast?
It's a good question. At the time, so when I started, I was working in media. So I was working at a radio, like our local radio station. I was in sales. But when you work in an environment like that and, you know, there's studios around and you're working like with radio hosts and like the whole buzz of it all, I had some colleagues of mine that were doing their own podcasts. And I think being in that environment, you just like feel a little bit, I don't know, like creative. You see them like doing something that's like a bit different to what I had, you know, a different environment to what I'd traditionally worked in maybe. But maybe taking it a step back, my career has been in account management for the last like nearly 10 years, I would say. So in sales and in account management. And when I first left school and like got a job, I had no intention to go to university, like just knew I wanted to get a job. And those first couple of years, it was very much just like my work ethic attributed to my success and growth.
Yeah.
So like I worked really hard, but I just always felt like as I was getting promoted and moving into different jobs, I was working in a pharmaceutical industry at the time. There was this part of me that was like, oh my God, like I don't deserve this because I don't have a uni degree. And I think it wasn't until I got a job in account management in that pharmaceutical industry that I was working in that I experienced like imposter syndrome for the first time, where it was like, and my manager, she was like, it sounds to me like you're going through a little bit of imposter syndrome. I had no uni degree, as I said. I like the traditional pathway to an account manager role in that industry was to have like a science or medical background, and I didn't. And then I was going out and having these really like medical conversations with these people, and it just felt like I didn't deserve to be there, or I didn't know enough, or like wasn't experienced enough to like be in that role. So that was probably one part to it. The other part was that when I had my first daughter, Ellie, I was like went on maternity leave for 12 months. And when I went back to work, I went through this like, oh my God, like this, I don't know, identity shift of like, who am I at work? Who am I at home? Like, gosh, that's a whole other thing. But I sort of like got into this rhythm of like being back at work, coming home, being a mum, and like I didn't feel like I had any like like hobbies or interests outside of that. And I'm not saying that you had to, like you have to, but there was this part of me that was like, I want this like creative outlet. And so then when I left my job in pharmaceutical account management and I stepped into like media, and I did that because I wanted to be closer to home and I wanted to have a little bit more flexibility and I wanted to like, yeah, not be traveling as much as I needed to travel in my role. And, you know, motherhood is a whole other crazy conversation. There was this part of me that wanted an outlet. Like my husband, he has like sport.
Yes, and he has a lot of hobbies. And I think when you become a mum, you can be conditioned to be a mum.
Yeah.
And then a job.
Yeah.
So to have your own little outlet for you, that's probably where you went into.
Yeah.
Okay, so working at the media obviously sparked something. Then what made you want to interview specific people?
Yeah.
Predominantly women. Where did the topic that you wanted to focus, where did that come from?
Yeah. That came from probably the imposter syndrome side of things. It was like I was in this I was in these roles where I really lent on other women to help me feel like not an imposter and make me better at what I was doing and how I was like having more confidence in myself as an account manager, as like just I guess as a person, like in the industry as well. Yeah, I wanted other women who were listening to it to feel like, even though sometimes it feels impossible or I do suffer from imposter syndrome, or, you know, I might not have the credentials or the experience to like do that thing or start that business or any like those kinds of things, that just freaking do it anyway. Like I think that was the crux of it. It was like if it was and also too, in the where I was working at the time, I was working with other people that were in their like early 20s, early to mid 20s, who like were saying things that I was saying in my early 20s and mid 20s, like what do I do with my life? Where am I going? Like what is my career? Who am I? Like, and so I was like, well, why don't I just talk to other people about it and show that even though everyone goes through those feels, especially women, like just bloody go for it anyway. Like that was the crux. Like that's what I thought. And in my head, I was working with a dear friend of mine who was one of the Brekkie Show announcers there, Maz. And I was like, I am just going to start by asking her. And if she says yes, then I'm just going to go for it. I also think I just wanted to learn something new. Like I wanted to learn, like have this hobby, but I wanted to teach myself like something that I hadn't done before. And I was in an environment where I could do that and I could learn from other people. Like, how does one start a podcast? Literally Googled how to start a podcast. And that's sort of like where it all began, I guess.
Cool. And I also think the people that you have got on, you have learnt something from all of them, and so like the people that listen to it obviously as well.
Yeah.
You learn so much, which I think is really cool. Do you have a particular guest that is a main highlight for you that you've learnt from?
Oh, there's so many. I also just want to say too, like, I mean, oh my God, like you're sitting here with me on the couch. I've been really lucky to be like surrounded by so many amazing like people in my life, not even just like a career wise. Like I am so lucky. I have a really, you know, solid group of friends that have been my friends for the last 20 years, like you being one of them. And I realized that not everyone has that. And so I thought how it would be nice to be able to like have a conversation with people where they can like, I don't know, like connect and feel heard and like feel like, oh, me too, like people that that don't have like a big circle of friends, or, you know, they've moved to a new area or something. And like by no means when I started this was like, I'm going to make a freaking massive podcast. I did not expect the listens that I've gotten. So I never thought that there was a need to like sit down and say who I am, because I thought it would just be like my mum and like 5 friends that would listen to it. So yeah, I think that was a big part of it. It changed really quickly. Like podcasting is hard. Like, it's not just getting behind a mic and just like having a chat and then all of a sudden it's like up and running and you've got all these reels. Like, there was a lot to it. One thing that I went in and you don't learn until you start is like, what questions do I ask? Like, what kind of podcast is it? Am I just having a chat? And so I like formatted these questions and I started getting all these amazing people in. I very quickly realized that, God, there is so much more to talk about than just what someone does for a job.
Totally. And I think too, with who you've chatted with and the topics you've covered, I think as we get older, our time becomes so much more limited.
Yeah.
So you don't really have those quality chats with people you just meet.
Yeah.
Like you said, we are very lucky with the group of friends that we have who we've known for a long time.
Yeah.
But to have the opportunity to then sit and discuss or have a chat without like people that you don't know or aren't close with in different fields that you're not involved with,
Yeah.
it's so rare. So then having you have those chats and then us as listeners get to listen to that just exposes us to so much more out there, which I think is so like it's epic about your podcast.
That's really true, to be able to like ask those questions. And I did think, you know what, I want to ask not tough questions, but I want to ask questions that, to your point, people wouldn't really get to ask somebody just like if you're catching up for coffee. And the one that stands out the most for me was when I sat down with Sarah Tarasenko, or Gibbons as I know, Tarasenko, and spoke about her experience with her beautiful son Archie. And that was so emotional, like it makes me emotional now. And I felt so privileged to have that conversation, but the whole time I was thinking, oh my God, like I hope that I'm doing her justice in her sharing her story. And it's hard when you're having the conversation. Like, that was a really big learn for me, that one, like, oh my God, there's so much more going on in people's lives to acknowledge and talk through, but also like, I really want to have these conversations, but like how deep do you go? And like, it can be really emotional, and God, like, she was just an inspiration, like genuinely, to sit her there and watch how strong she was, but how vulnerable she was willing to be. And like, I walked away from that like feeling so, I don't even know what the emotion, like the words are for the like emotion around that, but it was, it just felt like such a privilege. But then the messages that I got from people listening, and also the support and love that she got from that, sharing that story and that vulnerability, like that meant so much to me. And then it sort of segued into like, alongside all of this, something that was just like meant to just be like chats with really epic women who I was so grateful for, that would come on and, you know, be happy to share their stories. I then had, you know, one of our best friends was going through infertility. I had come off the back of going through like a couple of years of infertility with Ellie, and, you know, that IVF journey. And so to get like Tamara on, and then to talk about that, and then to get such an influx of messages of people who were going through the same thing. And for that to then, even to this day, be something that, like, you know, that conversation is becoming more and more, like, it's becoming more spoken about, but it has just raised so much awareness for me and people around us of like how many people are going through something like that. And that was like another really privileged conversation. That's like, I think that's when I started to realize that like I wanted to have more conversations like that, and definitely still celebrate like women in achieving really cool things. But I was also like, we were talking about having a second baby, and we were like, there was so much that was shifting in my life. You know, Ellie started to get a bit older. I was just like trying to find my feet in like what job that I could be doing that was like gonna pay, like help pay our mortgage, but also like that wasn't a priority for me as much as it used to be. And for someone that has like I have a really strong work ethic, it like pumps through our entire family. That was really hard to like navigate. And Yeah, but then I also just like having chats and having a bit of banter and having a laugh and like making people feel like I love making people feel really good and like really happy. And yeah, it's sort of, and because it was because it's been like a hobby thing, like I have stopped and started quite a few times. I left the media, so then I was like trying to juggle and do that myself and virtually, and then like coax my brother into helping, we're sitting in his podcast studio as we speak. So yeah,
So where are you at now? So obviously different vibe.
Yep. We're in a studs. We're in my brother's podcast studio, which is epic, sitting on a couch.
Very
when you
comfy.
walked in, you said like it looks very Alex Cooper.
Very Alex Cooper.
She's some call you daddy, isn't she? Is that her?
Yeah, call me daddy, I think.
Call me daddy. Yeah, so I've had a baby, another baby, Ava. She's 8 months old. So I like stopped recording about a week before I was giving birth to her. So lots happened. Those last couple of recordings were done virtually, and also I was very heavily pregnant, so I was like just like breathing really loudly. And so yeah, we're back. The direction now is like it's sort of shifted and was sort of doing it. It sort of was already doing this, but now I've sort of really rethought. We've done a new intro, and I want just to have really cool conversations around things that are like relevant for women in the same season of life as me.
Yeah.
So like 30s, 40s, motherhood.
30s gal stick.
We're still in the 30s. We're still in the 30s. Going through motherhood. Like I think I also a little bit, I don't know, I think I like didn't give enough credit to motherhood and how much that is just such a huge part. That is a huge part of my life.
Yeah.
And when I was doing the episodes, I didn't want to like put that into a bucket of like that's the only conversation that we're going to have, because I have friends who don't have kids or are childless by choice, or like they're at different times, different parts and times of their life.
Mm-hmm.
I also like want to learn. Like I want to like learn even different perspectives and different people's different experiences, different perspectives. There's some amazing stories as well that aren't necessarily business related, but then there's also some really cool stories out there of women in business, and I want to celebrate that too, because we're doing the juggle. Like everyone's doing the juggle, and that's what I can relate to. So, you know, there are other people out there that are like me that want to listen to those sorts of conversations.
So I guess going forward, what are the people to expect?
Yeah, so we've got, you know, people like all different topics, I think, like topics that are circled around motherhood, whether that be the journey to motherhood or in the early stages, or what it looks like later in life, all the feelings that come with that. Experts in topics around, you know, sobriety, learning about different hormones, psychology, careers, starting businesses, pivots, heaps of like nothing's off the table. Like I'm super open. I think it's just having really meaningful conversations, less formatted, just sitting on the couch like this and just seeing where it goes, and not being just doing it because I genuinely love chatting and learning and listening. I love making people feel like heard, understood, and you know, if more people are listening and that's helping them, I definitely just didn't expect perhaps the amount of messages that I got, and the amount of people that were listening. Like I didn't expect that at all.
It's huge. When you first said to us, "Are you going to start a podcast?" We're like, "How?"
Yeah.
What
Also,
do you mean?
Who
And
are
who you
you?
gonna talk to?
Yeah, and why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And it feels, if it's like even sitting down here, it feels nervous. Like I feel nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what am I going to talk about? I second guess myself all the time. It feels uncomfortable. Like it makes you feel like, oh, am I saying the right thing? Am I asking enough questions? Am I like saying too much? Am I stopping and starting? And it's just like,
You've killed it, and I think that is proof in the pudding. I'm going to call this the third season, but your last 2 seasons, you've just grown so much. And I think it's been like, I'm so proud as your friend, and it's really cool because I have seen how hard you work in so many areas. I don't know why I'm so.
Why? You're talking.
But how cool for you to be like, I'm going to start a podcast.
Yeah.
And you actually bloody did, and you have now turned it into like this, and I think it's really cool. And hearing like, as a listener, and hearing you interview the people that you have interviewed, especially our friends and people that we're close with, to hear that perspective, you definitely develop an empathy to their life or their story or what they've gone through. So I think you're already you're killing it already, and I'm very excited to hear what's coming.
Thanks, Lozza. Thanks for roping in to have this chat. It feels a little bit felt a bit clunky for me because I'm like, oh my God, how much do I talk? When do I stop? But for anyone that's listening, I hope that this is, you get something out of it, and that we're all just learning, listening, growing, trying new things. I think if anything, we're all just we're doing the juggle. We're doing our best, and everyone's got something going on in their life too. There's something happening, and I don't want to put a stereotype, but women, we juggle machines. We juggle so much, and there are so many things that go on in our life, and it's worth talking and learning about. So thanks for listening. And for someone who has such a high-pitched voice, and hated the sound of my own voice, which everybody says they do, didn't think I would jump on a mic and start a podcast, but I'm proud of giving something a go, and everyone should try something that just fills their own cup, I guess. So that was the plan with this. And but no, thank you, and Loz, thanks for coming in and
having me. Pleasure.
Love that. Let's love that for us. Let's just let's go.